What is up, guys? Today we have got quite a bit of news to talk about. And I mean quite a bit of news, from Batman Caped Crusader to the Flash movie, and how the ending isn't actually what quite a lot of people think with that character. James Gunn has actually spoken about that with regards to DCU Batman. The Hollywood Reporter spoke about the original endings to the Flash, some stuff we basically knew, but in interesting new context. We have some updates on Superman Legacy, a confirmation of Andy Muschietti directing Batman Brave and the Bold, and I kind of want to open up the question to how you guys feel about that, maybe after now seeing the Flash movie, and a bunch of other news which I may be forgetting to talk about right now as a bit of a preview. So as always, there will be video chapters labeled on this video, timestamps. Skip around if you want to. Thank you so much for showing up today, hitting like on the video if you've gone ahead to do that at some point if you're enjoying it, and maybe even subscribing if you want to see more videos just like this. So first of all, I am dead excited to finally give you guys, before we get into other major news, this has been a long time coming, an update on Batman Caped Crusader. So with this Variety article here, they initially talk about how one big Annecy focus highlight was a never-seen sizzle reel of the brooding, ultra-noir Batman Caped Crusader, executive produced by Bruce Timm, J.J. Abrams, and Matt Reeves, which was announced last year. It's no longer set to air on the then HBO Max. It now forms part of 3 Warner Brothers animation shows, with the comedic Merry Little Batman and Bat Family. The main thing with regards to Batman Caped Crusader, this part here, Batman Caped Crusader, one of the most awaited of Warner Brothers animation series, given its creative pedigree, Bruce Timm, J.J. Abrams, and Matt Reeves, and its declared ambitions. They say, and this, I mean, I'm going to try and contain my hype, but you know. So it's everything that Bruce Timm wanted to do in the original series, the 1992 Batman the Animated Series, but because it ran on a kids channel, he wasn't able to do it. So this definitely skews older. It's more of his complete vision. Very early footage at Annecy, the very first to be seen, currently unlit, suggested the series will be ultra noir, with a series of character designs playing at Annecy to a pumping full orchestra score that suggested a brooding tone and a sense of the near psychotic in characters' psychology. Interesting. That just sounds amazing to me. It really does. A lot of us are excited for Batman Caped Crusader, the sense of a new Batman animated series. Now we know it's going to be more mature, as they literally say here. Basically everything that Bruce Timm wanted to do in the original series, Batman the Animated Series, but couldn't quite get away with because it was, somewhat open to a kid audience as well. This is going to be a very noir-driven animated series in the sense of Batman the Animated Series, but imagine if they could get away with more things that are a bit more dark and brooding and noir, with obviously the psychotic in characters' psychology. Super, super interesting there. Now, I've seen some comments say, but I don't know how I feel about this, because one of the things that makes Batman the Animated Series so timeless is that it was open to all ages. And I don't disagree with that, but I don't think just hearing that it's going to be catering to more of a mature audience here automatically means that it won't be good, or even near Batman the Animated Series. I mean, obviously, with regards to that question, we don't know. We haven't seen it. My final words on this is that the premise of it sounds great. I hope it's successful. I know a lot of people are kind of also a bit apprehensive with regards to Bruce Timm doing everything he wanted to do in the original series, and they think to the Killing Joke with Batgirl and Batman, it's like, oh god, what could we have in store with Caped Crusader? But jokes aside, with the main aspect here of, the character psychology approach, but delivered in a very noir detective Batman way, but that isn't limited to just, a kid-friendly audience vibe. Sign me up. I still have to watch the product and review it. I can't wait to do episode breakdowns of this, because I most certainly will be. But until then, I'm signed up. What about you? So up next, I wanted to cover the Flash movie with regards to the ending of the film, what James Gunn himself has actually tweeted about it, but also the Hollywood Reporter gets into some background information with the 3 different iterations of the Flash movie's ending. So do skip this if you haven't seen the movie. I wouldn't say it's like major spoilers. To me, it's stuff that we've known about for a long time, just with regards to way before the Flash movie even released. We knew that Michael Keaton was going to be the new Bruce Wayne of the DCEU's future. That was going into the Batgirl movie. But obviously, since things changed there, now we're getting the DCU, they changed that casting at the end of the movie. And that's still actually not reflective of the Batman we're getting in the DCU, which is what I think is leading to this whole confused mess in the first place. So this is what James Gunn said on Blue Sky. Blue Sky is another social media platform. It seems that James Gunn floats around a few of them. So he says Batman will be Bruce Wayne and the actor isn't cast yet. Now, to me, I tweeted out saying this shouldn't really need clarification, but to be fair, people do seem to be getting confused with the ending of the Flash movie. And I say we shouldn't need this clarification, but maybe it's just because I regard myself so in the loop because I run a channel like this. I'm a big fan of anything DC and comics and stuff like that. So I've been very aware and have mental bookmarks of what James Gunn has said before with regards to saying absolutely not in terms of will George Clooney be the Batman of the DCU. He said a bunch of things that I don't think this needs to be clarified, but the amount of comments I have got, even with regards to my no spoilers review, because I was taking your questions in when talking about spoilers, and some of you were asking this, well, it clearly does need to be said then. And so James Gunn has definitively said Batman will be Bruce Wayne. Now, you may be like, why is he saying that? Because people were thinking, with Barry running back at the end of the Flash movie, somewhat restoring the timeline, even though I argue he didn't really learn his lesson because he got his dad out of jail. He made another timeline change. Thus, George Clooney has now replaced the original ending's face of Bruce Wayne, which was to be Michael Keaton. So people were thinking, okay, well, if this movie is the Flash reset into the DCU, the DCEU reset film, then surely George Clooney is going to be the Bruce Wayne of the new DCU Batman Brave and the Bold. No, it is just kind of like a jokey kind of recast thing they did from Keaton to Clooney. People were also specifically asking Bruce Wayne because maybe they thought that George Clooney was going to be the Bruce Wayne of the DCU. But Batman, people were thinking, oh, maybe it'd be Dick Grayson in Batman the Brave and the Bold, just training Damian Wayne. So people were going along that route. But no, it's not happening. Batman will be Bruce Wayne, vice versa, and it's going to be a new actor. It's not going to be George Clooney. Now, skimming through the Hollywood Reporter article here, I want to read out a couple of things and then just give my thoughts on it. So they say that Clooney's return to Bruce Wayne was not years in the making. In fact, it was made within a few weeks with some phone calls, 2 screenings of the movie, and half a day shooting in January. It was also the third ending crafted for the film, which director Andy Muschietti made through 3 separate regimes at Warner's, which must be exhausting, right? 3 different bloody iterations of the ending of this film. The Flash serves as a study of a movie that survived and evolved in a rapidly changing media landscape, facing the dictates of several sets of studio heads and a multi-billion-dollar acquisition. The Flash began life under the studio regime run by Toby Emmerich and his lieutenant, DC Films boss Walter Hamada. Most of the shooting and post-production was undertaken under that leadership, with the movie as a part of Hamada's plan to have the Flash build to a major reset of the entire DC cinematic universe, departing from the one established by filmmaker Zack Snyder with Man of Steel a decade ago. Hamada planned a Flash sequel and then wanted to segue to a movie inspired by the 1980s classic comic event Crisis on Infinite Earths, which is true. Again, as I've always said, this movie was meant to be a reset, which is why it's still being called a reset into the DCU, but not nearly as fit for purpose for the new universe as per what it was for the older universe plans under Walter Hamada. There was a post-credit scene, some of you may know this, in where they featured Ben Affleck kind of lost in the multiverse in like the Snyder-esque canon continuity, like floating out there, and he would have returned in a Crisis on Infinite Earths event, movie sequel thing, but not happening now. So they still kind of use the timey-wimey wibbly-wobbly stuff of what Barry's done in this, I guess, third iteration of the movie to launch us into the DCU. But as I said with the whole George Clooney ending, it's kind of like redundant in terms of people are getting confused, thinking that Clooney's going to be in a new DCU Batman. But carrying on, The Flash, as it was originally conceived and shot, ended on the courthouse steps with Supergirl, played by Sasha Calle, and Batman, played by Michael Keaton, who was already featured throughout the movie as returned Batman. It was meant to highlight that Barry did not reset the timeline as he thought he did. Well, he's a bit of a dummy, isn't he? Because he literally optionally chose to make his father look up by replacing the beans on the shelf, the tomatoes, onto a higher shelf. So thus him not being in jail literally means another timeline change, Barry. Did he learn his lesson? Let me know down in the comments below. It was an ending that was screen tested several times, one that reversed the deaths of Supergirl and Batman earlier in the film. So yeah, when Barry kind of ran back, Supergirl, Sasha Calle, Supergirl, and Keaton were like, we're here in a new universe. But this is when they go on to say, however, the movie got caught in the lightning storm that was Discovery's acquisition of Warner Brothers in 2022. Emmerich and Hamada were ousted, and Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav was on the hunt for an executive to run DC. In the meantime, Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy were installed as Warner Brothers Pictures Group chairpersons and CEOs. They were tasked with overseeing the DC in the meantime, and suddenly, and certainly, and not unexpectedly, they had their own plans. This is true. This is why in the past with the whole Black Adam thing, Henry Cavill coming into that, these original plans were in motion as James Gunn and Peter Safran were being hired, which is a big mess because Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy are very likely the people who kind of gave Henry Cavill the green light to say those things and whatnot. They allowed the cameo in Black Adam. So Michael DeLuca and Pamela Abdy themselves, being currently in that position in the vacuum while James Gunn and Peter Safran were being seeked out by CEO David Zaslav, were trying to make some of these decisions, right? So they're like, okay, the ending of the Flash movie. The Hollywood Reporter now goes on saying, knew the Flash ending was conceived. This version was still on the courthouse steps, but now Calais Supergirl was joined by Superman, played by Henry Cavill, and Wonder Woman, played by Gal Gadot. Keaton also remained. DeLuca and Abdy believed they were being strategic with the ending. Cavill was going to cameo for DC movie Black Adam and was being teed up to return to the role in a brand new Superman movie. Supergirl was retained because even though the executives were killing the development of a standalone Supergirl movie, they were open to her returning in some form and didn't want the last image audiences saw of her to be the death at the hands of a supervillain, as we know, Zod, in the movie. Which, you know, again, the more you read this, the more of a mess it is. I get that Pamela Abdy and Michael DeLuca were kind of just making do with what they could. They knew that new leadership was being sought in like the short or long term. Depends how long it took Zaslav. As we know, they came in on October 25th, James Gunn that is, and Peter Safran. So they were trying to make some moves. So they thought, okay, well, obviously the fans like Henry Cavill. Let's put him in as a cameo at the end of Black Adam. Let's put him in at the end of the Flash movie. You know, they were trying to make things go, right? This is when we also heard that low key, a Superman movie, a sequel to Man of Steel, was also being developed. But this is when the Hollywood Reporter goes on to say, meanwhile, the studio was developing a third installment of Wonder Woman with filmmaker Patty Jenkins and Star Gadot. This was a nice way to keep Wonder Woman in the cultural conversation. Yeah, fair enough. She's appearing at the end of the Flash movie. This ending was shot in September involving Miller, Cavill, and Gadot, as well as Keaton and Calais. So then came another lightning strike. Finally, right, in November, Zaslav announced that filmmaker James Gunn and producer Peter Safran were to run DC Studios, overseeing all DC film and television efforts. And suddenly, and certainly not unexpectedly, they had their own plans. And then here comes the lineup of Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters, recasting of Superman, keeping some people, changes to the end of the Flash movie to kind of pivot away from the idea of Michael Keaton staying on as Batman in the new DCEU, which is no longer a thing. Scrapping Batgirl because obviously it doesn't fit in with the new DCU, plus rumors of it not being a quality product anyway. It's just, at this point, it's like algebra in my head. Like, it's just so messy. Now, Hollywood Reporter go on to say, knowing they were resetting the DC Universe under their own vision, Gunn and Safran saw that having Cavill and Gadot in the new ending was potentially promising something their plans were not going to deliver. And remember, like, months and months back, we heard that Wonder Woman and Henry Cavill's, like, scene in the movie had been cut? This is that. One of the first actions the duo took was to scrap the Cavill Superman film, and they parted ways with Jenkins, effectively killing the third Wonder Woman installment. And remember again, months and months ago in News Roundup videos, I remember covering this, we covered Patty Jenkins Responds. I think that might even be the beginning of the title. And bottom line here, by the way, my opinion on this is, if you've literally, and you are going to, which we factually know, recast Superman, whether that's David Corenswet or someone else, we're getting a new Batman in the DCU, you may as well recast Wonder Woman. You've already recast 2/3 of the DC Trinity. It would be weird to see Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman stand there in the trio lineup when we've seen that exact lineup with Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill. But now it's going to be two new people as Batman and Superman. It's a bit jarring. So you may as well. Like, if you're a big fan of Wonder Woman, fair enough. As Gal Gadot, as Wonder Woman, rather, but you may as well. So this is when they go on to say the filmmakers, according to multiple people associated with the movie, then looked for alternatives, but wanted to keep the germ of the idea. Barry Allen thinks all is all right, but then has the rug pulled out at the last moment. They also went back to an idea joked about earlier in the filmmaking process. How many Batmen can we get? Clooney was brought up as a long shot, but Gunn and Safran jumped on the notion. They reached out to Clooney's agent, and then, the rest is history. Now let's move on to something we've spoken about quite a few times before, and now it's just being confirmed. Variety here is saying new Batman film Brave and the Bold lands. The Flash director Andy Muschietti exclusive. Sorry, that's not exclusive, Variety. One Take News got that first. Maybe you could say it's exclusive with regards to the comment, the official comment they got from Gunn here. But this is one of those things where, there's literally proof in my video uploads. We've been talking about it, whereas reported first from another outlet a while before this exclusive was even posted. So, yeah. But either way, it's interesting to bring up again, because how do you feel about this now? The report goes as follows. Muschietti, behind this weekend's superhero release, The Flash, will direct Batman the Brave and the Bold. The project is based on the comic series authored by Grant Morrison, who Gunn called exceptionally influential in the DC Universe in January. The comics imagine a Bat family where Bruce Wayne's biological son Damian serves as Robin to his dad's Batman. Muschietti's sister and creative partner Barbara will produce the project via their label Double Dream, alongside Gunn and Safran. Now, this is when Gunn says, "We saw The Flash even before taking the reins at DC Studios and knew we were in the hands of not only a visionary director, but a massive DC fan. It's a magnificent film, funny, emotional, thrilling, and Andy's affinity and passion for these characters and this world just resonates through every frame. So when it came time to find a director for The Brave and the Bold, there was really only one choice. Luckily, Andy said yes, Barbara signed on to produce with us, and we were on our way. They're an extraordinary team, and we couldn't have better or more inspiring partners as we embark on this thrilling new adventure in the DCU." And there we have it, guys. Now, I'm bringing this up again because I guess it's technically news. We have a new comment from the heads of DC Studios officially on, Andy being the director for Brave and the Bold. But another reason as to why I'm bringing this up is because I've seen some people express apprehension about Andy Muschietti directing the Batman movie, or handling the first, canonical look at DCU Batman. I know it's a Batman and Robin-esque film, and it's got to open up doors to a larger thing because we're going to have the Bat family in that. That's already been teased. I think, this will branch off with Nightwing into a Titans project, or maybe just a Nightwing solo project. Down the line of the DCU Chapter 1 announcements we're yet to get, let alone Chapter 2 announcements. We've had some projects announced for Chapter 1, but we've still got way, way, way more, as James Gunn has said. But what I would say is, when I first heard this, I was like, okay. And I saw the movie, but I do keep in mind that this movie has been, kind of bent and twisted around in various ways. And even at the bottom of that, even with the history we just went over like a few minutes ago, he does tackle the heart of the film and kind of the scope of the film in a way that has entertained a lot of people. I've got my opinions on the movie in my reviews. I think it's not a great movie, but it's not a terrible movie. I was entertained by it. It has a lot of heart. That's the biggest thing it's got going for it. Ezra did a great performance, all this stuff. But I do have issues as well. So I think as big Batman fans, and anyone who's protective of a character, as you would be if you're a huge fan, you're kind of like, oh damn, how do I feel about this? Now, people aren't being mega negative from what I'm seeing at all, but I just feel like they're not being mega positive. We're kind of in this, is this going to be as good as it could be with Andy Muschietti? Some people like to cite the humor on the scene with Wonder Woman. A lot of people are calling that scene with Batman and what he says about, really, crime would be gone or whatever if he just gave away all his money. Like, all that kind of humor, people are thinking, okay, with Brave and the Bold, is it going to be littered with things like that? Given that you're having a larger film, you're having a literal ninja assassin kid, Damian Wayne, with Batman. So I've always expected a light tone to Brave and the Bold, but I felt like they could marry it quite well with maybe Batman still being being quite blunt, and that brings out the natural comedy of maybe, you know, if Nightwing's in there, because we know Bat Family will be in it. They like to tease Batman a bit, and, you know, again, inherently having Bruce's son Damian come in, there is always, and has always, in my opinion, there's going to be this playful humor with the movie. But again, I think some fans are just paranoid, I think understandably so, with, oh, but what if they kind of lose control, lose vision of maybe going a bit too far with things like that? What about visual effects? Now, I doubt we're going to see any scenes in The Brave and the Bold that resemble what Andy strove to do with the Chrono Bowl and the Speed Force in the Flash movie. So I guess that's a plus there, because again, Andy Muschietti put out that excuse the other day about how it was an intentional thing, and people were ripping into that, saying, okay, so you made it intentionally bad. You know, again, whatever your take is there, fair enough. But I guess on the bright side, I can say that I don't think there would be any designs or like visual effects that they go for in that vein, because obviously we're not going for Chrono Ball, Speed Force stuff in Brave and the Bold. So I think whatever comic book visual effects and CGI the Brave and the Bold needs, it should be up to like industry standards. You know, it should be. Another perk I want to say, I do think that Muschietti handled the Batmen in the movie very, very well. Again, maybe like that humor scene aside on the bridge, you know, again, you might like that or whatever, but before that with Affleck on the Batcycle, awesome. But the thing that even Ben Affleck hypes up himself with how he was such a pleasure to be doing it again in this way is the scene afterwards between Ben Affleck and Ezra Miller's Barry outside Barry's apartment. That sincerity with him talking about, you know, these scars we have, like all of that. I feel like he handled Ben Affleck's Batman or Bruce there very, very well. Keaton throughout the movie, it actually, again, as I said in my review, surprised me with how smoothly it was put in there. Like nostalgia bait lines aside of, you want to get nuts, just get nuts. Like the other scenes, I was like, okay. So I do think that he will do a very nice heartfelt story with Batman / Bruce Wayne and his son. Again, Brave and the Bold with a director like Muschietti does have quite a bit of potential with still portraying the Batman isms of it, but also, you know, the irony to the story of Bruce opening up a bit more, the heart of the father and son relationship there, and what they can kind of play with. But yeah, I am seeing a bit more apprehension from fans now after having seen The Flash. So I guess I want to pose the question to you guys. Did you love The Flash? Did you kind of hate The Flash? Or were you just kind of in the middle? No matter what, how does this impact your view for knowing that Andy Muschietti is factually now directing the brand new Batman, the recasting of Batman, the face of Batman for the next 10 years of DC movies, DCU that is. How do you feel? Let me know down in the comments below if you think Andy will do a great job, a mid-ish kind of job, or like, oh, maybe you're a bit more worried about it. All right, everyone, and lastly for this video, very quickly, Boris Kitt from The Hollywood Reporter, on top of the stories that we've already gone over, he says, meanwhile, right now, on the Warner's lot, James Gunn is screen testing Nicholas Hoult, David Corenswet, and Tom Brittney, plus Emma Mackey, Phoebe Dynevor, and Rachel Brosnahan in full wardrobe and makeup for the roles of Clark Kent and Lois Lane for Superman Legacy. And then subsequently after that, we have James Gunn again on that Blue Sky social media app saying, amazing weekend of auditions for Superman Legacy. I am blown away by some of these actors, among the best I've ever seen or worked with. James Gunn is very, 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 very times 1,000 very much so narrowing this down now to who is going to be his Clark Kent and Lois Lane. Now, you've heard it here once, you're going to hear it here again, and that is that I want David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan. I know sometimes that combination changes for people. They want David Corenswet and Emma Mackey, but I do just vibe personally that Brosnahan and Corenswet are the duo for me. But who knows how it's going to turn out? Maybe it might be Tom Brittney. Like, we don't know. Maybe it's going to be Nicholas Hoult and a combination of whoever, Emma Mackey, Phoebe Dynevor, and Rachel Brosnahan. So let me know your thoughts on that. I just thought I'd give a little update there because they're actually in the screen test phase right now. They are wearing the costume and makeup to convince Gunn. Like, can you imagine being a fly on the wall? My God. Anyway, though, guys, that's everything I want to talk about today. So let me know your thoughts on absolutely everything we covered. I read every single comment, reply to some of them, so I will be doing that. So definitely don't forget to give me your various thoughts on everything. Maybe consider subscribing if I've popped up on your recommended. Double check that subscribe button. Maybe you're actually not subscribed. And click the notification button as well and set it to all from personalized to all to make sure you never miss out on a future video. But again, guys, just want to thank you for your time of day today. Thank you for supporting the channel. I love doing what I do here, so thank you for helping me do what I do. But until next time, hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.